Hello, and welcome to Elevated Story Time. Um, Tonight I'm going to tell you the story of a friend of mine. I'm not going to use his real name. We're going to call him Bill. Let's hope I can remember this because I'm a few gummies in. Bill. Okay. I met Bill when I went to boarding school in California. And Bill and I just clicked. We were great friends. He taught me a whole bunch of crazy things. He was into like runes and bow fighting, with a staff fighting, bow staff fighting, just stuff like that. Very Star Wars, that kind of stuff. It's a very cool dude. So I spent time chilling with him and bow fighting with him and learning runes from him and just hanging out, getting to know each other. Very smart, a lot of fun to talk to. One of the few people who could really piss me off just by talking because he'd irritate me and we'd go back and forth and he thought it was funny, I guess, to piss me off. But he wrote poetry like I did at the time. And we just clicked as friends. And I loved him dearly, but it was like a brother, not even like a brother. There was teasing, joking, flirting, but I wasn't ever interested in him like that. He was just a good friend of mine. But he was interested in me like that, and I made the mistake of continuing to treat him like I did most of my guy friends, flirting with him and joking and that kind of stuff, rough housing. And I am well, I was, I'm not now. I was affectionate with my guy friends. Most of my friends were guys. I was surrounded by a bunch of guys. um but he was a good guy. Bill was. um I went to, it was, so they had like, they weren't dances because it was a like a religious school. Not, I don't even want to say Christian. It was a sect of Christianity that doesn't dance. So we didn't have dances. They were like, I can't remember what they called them, but we went and had dinner and like listened to music and hung out and stuff. Yeah, I went to one of them with him because the guy I was going to go with, that I wanted to go with, it fell through. So Bill asked me, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go. And that's how it was. Like, with the school, I was only went to school with him for 1 year. He was older than me, quite a bit older than me. I want to say 4 years, something, 3 years, something like that. I don't remember. Um, I was a freshman. Yeah, a freshman in high school. Yeah, and I was a young freshman. I graduated from high school at 17. I think I turned. I have to do the math, but I almost think I turned 17 the summer after I graduated. So I technically graduated at 16, I think. I could be off by that. I could have been 17. But anyways, so he was a good. He was an older high schooler. I think he was a junior when we met. And he was already older. So it was quite an age gap there. I just remember I was very confused because I couldn't understand why he liked me so much like that. And the girls' dorm, we had this. I don't remember what they called them, but they were like dorm mothers almost. And she was the assistant one, so she was young herself. She was considered like a college age, 20s. She was so short compared to me. She's just this tiny little thing. We'll call her Cece because I'm not going to use her real name either. She had one time when I was talking to her, I was bearing my heart to her, and I was like, I don't understand why he likes me like that. I don't like him like that. He's my friend, and I cherish him as a friend, but I don't like him like that. And she like did that. Come here. So I bent down. She was a lot smaller than me, and she very gently smacked me in the face and said, you're flirting with him. You flirt with him all the time. You put your feet up in his lap. You know, and that's the signals you're giving him. And I was like, but that's not what I'm trying to do. So she kind of opened my eyes a little, and I tried to be better. I really did. And like I said, we went to school together for a year. The school ended up closing down. I went to a different school. We still stayed in touch. Like I said, I valued him. I treasured him as a friend. He, it was a mental connection more like, we just clicked well. And, sorry, my dog's licking something. But we stayed in touch all those years, on and off. Things would, you know, he would talk to me about girls he was interested in, that he was pursuing or had relationships with. And they just, he always ended up coming back to liking me, and I was always very much against it. And we had breaks in our friendship because of that. We had breaks in our friendship, and some of them were quite long, because he struggled with this and wouldn't be able to stay talking to me because it would be upsetting to him, and it hurt him, I guess. But anyhow, we ended up having one of our blowouts over friendships again, because I was always so excited when he'd reappear, and I would just talk his ear off, and we would just constantly talk to each other. And this was all over the phone. We were on different sides of the country. I was and on the East Coast, and he was on the West Coast. So it wasn't in person, but you know, just a lot of phone calls. I remember being in my 20s, late teens, early 20s. Yeah, it was early 20s, working an overnight shift in a healthcare facility. And he would keep me company on the phone because he was the time difference. And he was a night owl, just like I was. He was a very important person in my life when he was in my life. Really like my best friend. I could talk to him about anything, and we just clicked, like I said, and mentally it was just very important to me. But we had one of our fallouts where he started to get attached to me, or wanting a relationship with me, and he had spoken to some of our friends from when we were in school together who knew both of us, and one of them had a female friend that he had clicked with, not romantically, but as a friend, and she had pretty much advised him to cut me out of his life because I don't know what he told her, but apparently I was this horrible person in his life, and it was just too much for him. So he, based on talking to her, and he decided to take the advice and said, I can't be friends with you, I can't talk to you, and he disappeared again. So he resurfaced a while later, a couple of times. I don't remember how many, but he resurfaced at a point in my life when I had an ex that I had children with, that I was with for 8 years. And it was not a great relationship. that I'd separated, and I was a single mom with 2 kids, living on my own, and Bill and I had reconnected, and we were chatting, and he was very much a support system for me, invaluable, really, very, very important at that point in my life. He built me back up from being ripped down at the tail end of that relationship. And he started talking about me and him, we try working it out, maybe we could date, or so on and so forth. And I was like, no. And he said, why do you keep pushing me away? And I was like, because I'm protecting you from me. Because all I can think of is what Cece had said to me. Don't play with his feelings. Don't hurt him. Don't lead him on. And I never felt I was leading him on, but I was, apparently. And I didn't want to do that. So I told him in one of our conversations, when he was like, why are you not wanting to pursue and see what happens here? And it's because I knew, and I was very honest with him. I knew I didn't have romantic feelings for him. I knew I loved him dearly, but I was not attracted to him like that. And I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want to hurt him again, because I had hurt him multiple times, and that was never my intention. Like I said, I loved him dearly, and the last thing I want to do was hurt him. But I used to joke, especially in high school, because I guess I did that a lot. I left disaster in my wake. My guy friends would fall in love with me, and I would not reciprocate like that. And this happened a lot. Bill by far was the most long-term version of that. But he convinced me to give it a try. And I said, you know what the hell? I came out of this relationship with this guy that I was attracted to. And it was just a disaster. It was a disaster. I know Bill, and I know what kind of person he is. I know he's a good man. I know he wouldn't do those things to me. And I said, you know what? Come on out. Come visit. Because he offered to come and visit. I said, come on out. Come and see me. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll try. And in the intervening, he bought tickets. And in the intervening months leading up to him coming, I had reconnected with another guy friend of mine from my 20s that I actually liked and had flirted with, and he had never picked up on it. I reconnected with him, and we started seeing each other. I wouldn't say we were dating. There was a interest there. And so I was very honest with Bill. And he was upset with me. And he is still pushing to come out. And I told him, I said, look, not to be, well, this is blunt. I was being honest with him. I said, if you're coming to see me, to fuck me, just to have sex with me, because that's what I was feeling, it was, I said, don't even bother. Don't even bother. If you're coming out for anything other than as my friend, don't bother, because I'm starting to see this guy, and I don't do that. And he said, no, I'm still coming. And that's okay. I want to see you. So came out. It was around Christmas time. I had him here for Christmas, if I remember correctly. We exchanged Christmas presents. It was after Christmas. That's right. It was heading into New Year's. And New Year's Eve came. We had a party. Bill was there. My friend B was there. That's another story. He's another old friend of mine since I was 4. And then the guy that I had been friends with in my 20s that I was now sort of dating was there. And he apparently went outside. You know, we were drinking. It was New Year's Eve. He went outside with the guy I was seeing, who we'll call Jay, and pleaded with Jay to back off from me while he was here, because he had waited all these years to be with me, and he didn't want to lose that chance. Which, I'm sorry, that pissed me off. I was livid when I heard about that. Livid. Because I talked to him specifically about that, but it doesn't matter. So we finished it out. I thought we were good. We talked with each other. I drove him to the airport when he was leaving. He gave me a car. It was really sweet, actually. As a single mom with the 2 kids and trying to support them, I was tight on money, and he knew that. And he gave me this card, and in the card he had put money because I had fed him and paid for everything while he was here. And I guess it was his way of thanking me, which I thought was extremely sweet. I thought we were okay. I thought with him, he was going back to his side of the country. I thought we were good. We were friends. We understood. Apparently that was not the case, because shortly after Bill left, I got a call from a friend we had in common. And she said to me, "Girl, what the hell are you doing? Why would you do this? Why would you do this to him? What happened? Da, 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 da." Well, I explained to her what had happened. And I was honest with him. I'd been honest with him every step of the way. I have always been honest with him. And she said, okay, that's kind of, I mean, she knew me well enough to know how I operated. So he struggled again after leaving, and then eventually contacted me and said, "I can't do this. This hurts too much, da 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 da." He explained he'd figured out why he was so attached to me. One of the reasons, at least. He said, I was a dreamer, and my dreams I would spin into these beautiful stories that would suck him in, and he would want those dreams. He would want to be in them, and he'd want to share them with me. And apparently, during the time he hadn't been talking to me, he had gotten in a relationship with a friend we had in common from school again, who has a very similar disposition to me with that, and was getting drawn into it the same way. And that's when it clicked, and he realized that that's what had drawn him in and what he wanted, he was so attached to, I guess. But he said he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And I said, listen, Bill, I can't do it. You hurt me every time you do this. My best friend walks away, throws up his hands and walks away and says, you're hurting me. I can't do this. You're hurting me because I love you and I want to be with you. How was I hurting him? I wasn't doing anything to him, but I digress. That was my mind at the time. That's how I felt. And I said to him, you are hurting me, and I have repeatedly allowed you to come back. And we go through the same cycle every time. And you hurt me and you leave. And I accept you back with open arms when you come back. And we go right back to how we were. And then bloop, we're right back to, it's too much and you're feeling things and you can't do this. I was like, Bill, if you do this, we're done. We're done. Don't come back. Don't contact me. Don't call me. Don't anything. Like, we are not friends. I wish you the best. I want a good life for you. You deserve the best. But I'm not putting myself back in this position again. I'm done running into a wall for all intents and purposes, because that's what I was doing. What's that? The definition of crazy is you keep doing the same thing expecting different results. I was crazy. So I told him no. Months later, and there was a bunch of stuff that went on. This is getting late. We're almost at 20 minutes here. Later, I don't even know the time frame. Later, he tried to contact me again. I was with the guy I was starting to see when he had come to visit me. I believe I was pregnant with my daughter with him at the time. Or just had her. Yeah, no, I already had her. He contacted me, and I told him, I said, Bill, I'm not doing this. I told you I'm not doing this. I hope you're doing well. I wish you the best. He messaged me back with, I'm not doing well. But it is what it is. Like, you don't want to talk to me, get it. And that was that. I heard shortly thereafter from mutual friends that he had cancer and he was dying. And I am a stubborn bitch. I told him I wasn't going to be there anymore. And he didn't tell me he had cancer. And I said, all he had to do was tell me. And he didn't. And I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to reach out and do it. I was going to let him. And he never did after that. And he passed away. And it's interesting because shortly after he passed away, there was a song that was released by Halsey. I think it's called Sorry. I think. And it pretty much talks about a girl, meaning Halsey, who does what I do with people, which is I invest myself. I will learn everything about you. But that doesn't mean I'm in love with you. But people end up thinking that's what it is and taking it that way. And that really touched, it really hit the feels because it was how I felt. So I regret not talking to him before he died, I guess. At least to tell him I did love him and I still loved him. But it is what it is, and we can't go back. And I think he kind of knew that anyhow. Because you don't go through the things we did together and the years we had together and not love your friend. I just had drawn a boundary, and I always say don't go backwards. So, yeah. I told you I wasn't always nice and sweet. And I honestly do have a history of leaving disaster in my wake. Maybe I'll tell further stories someday down the road about that. But that's it. Sorry for crying on you and getting emotional. This was not supposed to be this. But that's my story about Bill. I hope it was coherent because like I said, I'm a few gummies in here. All right, y'all. Have a good night.